Hi all, welcome to part 3, module 2, computer networks. So we were discussing the data link layer design issue, and we will start our discussion in more detail, starting from the concept framing. So as we already seen, for making this flow control, error control, everything possible, the data that is being given to this data link layer by the network layer, that is we call it as a packet, should be divided into smaller units called frames, and the size of the frame is being decided by the data link layer protocol. So what are all the concerns there? So to provide service to the network layer, the data link layer must use the service provided by the physical layer, and what physical layer does is accept a raw bit stream and attempt to deliver to the destination. So physical layer is only dealing with this binary information, right? So from the data link layer, the frame, it will be treated as a sequence of bits, and it will do some kind of signal encoding, and it will deliver them to the destination correctly. So if the channel is noisy, as it is for most wireless and some wired links, the physical layer will add some redundancy to its signal to reduce the bit rate to some tolerable level. So when it comes to wireless communication particularly, and in some cases of wired links, if the communication channel is noisy, so that noise will be tampering your information, and that will lead to the erroneous cases, right? Or some other situation that will lead to missing of the data is received but corrupted, like that many cases will come. So how to deal with this? That is by means of some kind of error detection and correction technique. Say in most of the cases we will be adding something extra to the original information, and that is a redundant bits. If in case of CRC, that CRC reminder or checksum, whatever it is, and that redundancy will be helping the communication to trace such errors. So now however, the bit stream received by the data link layer is not guaranteed to be error free. Even after redundancy, still it may the information loss and other kinds of errors are still there. Some bits may have different values, and the number of bits received may be less than or equal to or more than the number of bits being transmitted. So something extra can be added, and some useful information may be deleted from the data. So from the data, like that many situations may arise. So it is up to the data link layer to detect and if necessary correct these errors. So in the sense particularly that hop to hop error control. But if you are looking at the higher layers, end to end error control is dealt at the higher layers also, but here particularly between every hop, the data link layer will take care of the errors. So the usual approach is for the data link layer to break up the bit stream into say discrete frames and compute something like a checksum or a CRC reminder for each frame, and include the checksum in the frame when it is transmitted. So some kind of error detection technique, checksum is one method, CRC is another method, but mostly in data link layer, the Ethernet token ring, those that kind of, and sorry, in Ethernet anyway the CRC is used, and it is a well-known technique because this Ethernet itself is a popular one. And checksum also, but checksum normally we prefer to implement in the higher layer. So anything if you want, you can go for checksum at the lower layers also. So that is what I observed. So when a frame arrives at the destination, the checksum is recomputed. In case of CRC, that CRC means with the frame with the redundant data, that CRC checking will be done at the receiver side. Now if the newly computed checksum is different from the one contained in the frame, the data link layer knows that some error occurred, and it will either discard or inform the sender back accordingly. So whether it is checksum or CRC, so what is the method we are using. And now different framing techniques are like, so why those error related things discussed in the previous slide is because so that redundant bit where you are going to add, so that will be there in the overhead information of the data link layer, that will be there in the header of data link layer. And similar to that, for flow control, additional information and the destination address, all those things will be adding in the frame header, and together we will make our frame. So what are all the different ways of doing this framing? So breaking up the bit stream into frames is more difficult than as it first appears. So what is the difficulty we are facing? A good design must make it easy for a receiver to find the start of a new frame while using little of the channel bandwidth. So that is the challenge here. Once you divide it into frame, ultimately then suppose the original packet get divided into 10 frames, and all those frames, frame header, everything we added, and we are sending them over the physical layer. So when it comes to the physical layer, everything is in the form of 0 and 1. So at the receiver side, how the receiver will correctly identify, say this is the start of a new frame and this is where it ends. So that is the main challenge we are facing, how to identify or differentiate the start and end of a frame, so that the receiver can correctly take it, and also the frame header it can take properly, and it can do some processing over the header, and it can proceed further. So to make all those things happen nicely, so the frame beginning and end should be clearly identified by the destination. So what are all different ways of achieving it? There are 4 such methods that proposed in the literature, like the byte count method, the flag byte with byte stuffing, flag bits with bit stuffing, and the physical layer coding violation. Now we are going to see this technique in detail, starting from the byte count technique. So from the byte count technique, so what is happening here? So what I was thinking is, I will take an example and explain to you, then we will come back to this theoretical explanation. So in this method here, you can see, just look at the diagram and look at the mouse pointer movement also. So here you can see a sequence of bytes being sent by the sender. Now at the beginning of a frame, we can see something called a byte count. So here this 5 is a byte count. So see, the byte counts are highlighted here. 5 is a byte count. Then so look at the frame 2, 5 is again the byte count, and frame 3, 8 is a byte count. So just look at the beginning of each frame, and that is the byte count. So frame 1 it is 5, frame 2 it is again 5, frame 3 it is 8, and frame 4 again it is 8. So these are all the byte counts. So what does it say? In this particular frame, including me, there are totally 5 bytes. So that is the meaning of this 5. The count itself is counted in the sense, other than this count which is taking 1 byte in the storage, there are 4 more bytes. So totally 5 byte, that 5 will be stored here. So if 5 is stored as the byte count, then the destination will be looking for 4 more bytes, because already 1 byte is the byte count itself. And according to the destination can locate the end of this particular frame by looking at the 4 by keeping some counter, and it can count 4 more bytes further. And now a new frame begins at this point, where the byte count which is stored at the beginning of the frame says 5, in the sense including me there are 5 bytes, and the remaining 4 bytes are the data. And similarly for frame 3, it is saying that it is 8, that means including me there are 8 bytes. Say count it in frame 3, how many bytes you can see there are. This 8 0 1 2, then 3 4 5 6, so totally 8 bytes are there. And after this byte count, if I remove, remaining 7 more actual byte of payload is there. I mean actual byte of the frame is there. It may contain some portion, may be dedicated to frame header even. So that is the idea. So hope it is clear for you. Now what is the problem with this byte count technique, which is proposed as a first solution for this framing problem? So the thing is that this means information that are moving through the physical layer can be corrupted, right? So the error can happen, because when it comes to binary, a single bit change is enough that will be interpreted differently at the receiver side. For example, frame 1 is received correctly, no issue with frame 1. Suppose frame 2 some error happened, so it is wrongly received. So what happened is, in frame 2 actually the sender stored the byte count as 5, and you know what is 5 in binary? It is 0 101, and 0 101, what happened is the I mean if you start counting from the least significant bit, the second least significant bit is that's middles, I mean the 0th bit, then first bit, that 0 that changed to 1. So 0 101 0 1 0, that 0 changed to 1. Now it will be interpreted as 0 111, right? So what is 0 111? 7. So the destination interpret the byte count as 7. Actually just a single bit error, just due to a single bit error it is interpreted as 7, because the actual error detection itself is going to start only. So before that itself, in the count field itself, we are getting an error. So that is the intensity of such a problem. It may not even detected by the error detection procedure which is running at the receiver side. So what will happen is, so it will start reading the 7 bytes, further bytes as part of the current frame. So including the 7, it will proceed, and the next byte code 8 and the 0 together it will be interpreted. So the totally 7 more bytes read, and what is the next byte? It is actually 1. This 1 is actually part of the original frame, it is not the byte count. But what will happen next? So the current frame ends at this point. So this 1 it will interpret as the beginning of a new frame. So the next frame it will be taking that 1 alone. Again this 2 it will interpret as the beginning of the next frame. So including this 2 means this 1 and this 3 together it will read, then 4. Like that, that 4 total synchronization of the frame is now it is out of synchronization, and altogether it leads to many complications at the receiver side. Even that to depend on the error detection algorithm to trace all those things, a frame should be interpreted correctly, so that from the frame header you can start getting that redundant information and other checksum, whatever it is. So nothing will happen further, and everything will go out of synchronization and it will be interpreted wrongly. So that kind of a problem is there. So even though it is proposed in the theory, when it comes to practical, you can go for this technique only if you have a guarantee that your communication is highly reliable. The chances of error is very less. In that case, if you can experiment it, in other case it is not a good technique. So now we will read the theory part. See, the first framing method uses a field in the header to specify the number of bytes in the frame, including itself. When the data link layer at the destination sees a byte count, it knows how many bytes follow this one, and hence where to end the particular frame. So this technique is shown in the next slide for 4 small example frames with 5, 5, 8, 8 bytes respectively, something we already seen. So the trouble with this algorithm is that the count can be garbled by a transmission error, right? For example, if the byte count of the second frame 5 in the second frame of the that is shown in the next slide becomes 7 due to a single bit error, that's 0101 in this interpreted as 0111. Due to a single bit flip, the destination will get out of synchronization. It will then unable to locate the correct start of the next frame. So even if the checksum is incorrect, so the destination knows that the frame is bad, if still has no way of telling where the next frame starts. So that is a problem. Either that checksum or some kind of CRC, whatever it is, using that technique it can locate whether a frame is bad or not, but how to fix the problem with the byte count itself. So sending a frame back to source asking for a retransmission does not help either, since the destination does not know how many bytes to skip over to get to start of the retransmission. So it gone out of synchronization, right? So it can't even communicate some error situation back to the sender. So for this reason the byte count method is rarely used by itself. So that about the first method. Now similarly we have a second improved variation called the flag bytes with the byte stuffing. So byte stuffing is something that we are doing additionally. So flag byte, as the name says, it is clear for you. In that message, I mean the frame, at the beginning of the frame we are going to use a special flag indicating the beginning, and the end of the frame is also located by some special flag. If you want, you can use the same flag at the beginning and end of the frame, so that the frame will be distinguished, right? So again I thought I can give you that example first, then we will go to that theoretical part. So the payload, header and trailer, so together makes a frame, right? So frame is actually starting from the header and end with the trailer, right? Now flag is something you are additionally adding at the start of the frame and end of the frame, just to do it will be a special pattern, right? Some pattern you can give, and normally try to give something that is not repeating in the original message. Some special pattern you can give as a flag, and with the help of this flag destination can allocate. This is a beginning, and whenever it is reaching a flag, so this is the end of the current frame, again another flag, so that will allocate the new frame. So whenever it gone out of synchronization, it can look for two flags successively, one flag indicating the end of the current frame, and another immediate next flag indicating the beginning of the new frame. It can resynchronize. So something like what happened in the previous case, that it gone out of synchronization and it is not able to come back at all. So that kind of a situation will not be there. At any point, if there is error, the possibility of getting resynchronized maybe after a few bytes incorrectly received. So that possibility of resynchronization is high here. Now, what is the problem with this method? So the problem here is, what will happen this if the special flag pattern which you used is repeating in the original message also. So it can be their part of the original message. That is why I already told you. See, if you are using this keyboard based communication, then look at some special symbol that is not part of the keyboard, then that you can make as a flag. So like that you can think of it. But the problem is, this is something that will work at the beginning, maybe some 30 years back, but now the situation is different, in the sense by this encryption and compression, due to all those things which we are adding as part of the communication, almost all symbols, we are actually following this Unicode in the internet, which is 16-bit code, right? This we are not depending on this ASCII based keyboard characters, nothing. Simply, even though you are framing your message using the characters from the keyboard, but it will be after encryption and all, the resultant message which is actually going for the communication will be having any kind of special symbol. So whatever be the pattern that you are using as the start of the frame delimiter, so we can call the flag which we are attaching at the beginning of the frame as a start of frame delimiter. Similarly, the end of frame delimiter. So the same flag you can use, but that flag, whatever it is, it may be there as part of the original message. Now whenever the receiver sees that flag as part of the original message, it will mistakenly misinterpret it as the end of the frame, and it will stop reading that frame at that point, but it is just part of the original payload only. So that is the thing, okay, or original frame only. It is not the additional thing that we stuffed, that we added at the beginning and the end. So that is a problem. For example, this is the original bytes, which is coming as part of the frame as a whole, including header, payload and trailer. So this is something part of it. So A, B something, but in between the within the original message, this flag is repeating. So now what is the solution for that? You have to somehow inform the receiver that this is not the special flag that will begin or end a frame, or that will indicate the beginning and end of a frame, but it is something part of the original message itself. So something like the escape sequence that you are using in your programming languages, right? For example, /n, it is having a special meaning. /n, backward /n, right? /n, what does it mean? A new line character. But if you want to print this for backward /n in the monitor as part of some communication, what you will do? You will use one more backward slash, something like that. So that will escape that backward /n's special meaning, and it will be giving it a normal meaning. So this flag should not be treated specially, rather it should be treated as part of the original message. That you can indicate by some other special pattern. Let us call it as escape pattern. So that is being forcefully added, means just before the special flag. So what the receiver will do is, receiver will be scanning the original message before sending it, and whenever it encounters the special flag field which we plan to attach at the beginning and end of the frame, if it in worst case, if the sender observe this flag pattern at some point, what it will do, just before this flag pattern, it will insert manually some special pattern. We can call it as the escape pattern. Again, this escape pattern is just like the flag. So both are just some special sequence of information only, but particularly some byte of information, some one byte of information, maybe some special character or whatever it is. So this escape is something, a very special character that is having the meaning. So the information which is following it is not, it is to be treated normally, or its special meaning should not be considered. For communicating something like that to the receiver, this is used. Okay, so this escape special pattern or special byte is being stuffed in the original message, so that is why we call it as byte stuffing. So a frame delimited by the flag bytes is what seen in figure A. Now 4 examples of byte sequencing before and after byte stuffing. So this left side is something before byte stuffing and right side is something after performing byte stuffing. You stuffed an extra byte, that is escape. Now again the question is, if this escape pattern itself occur in the message, what you will do? So before that, what is to be done by the receiver now? Now the receiver, when it is encountered, it will start reading from A, and whenever it is reaching this escape, it will understand that what is following this is a normal information only, and this special escape pattern it will simply remove from the original message, and it will start continue reading that flag as part of the original message. That is how it is working. Now the escape itself is occurring in the original message. How to escape that one? Again you have to append one more escape before it. So this process is something you have to repeat at every occurrence of the special pattern flag as well as the escape special pattern given for the escape sequence. So both may repeat in the or may come in the original message, but irrespective of whether it is flag or escape, whatever it is coming, so we have a rule that is being imposed at the sender side, that whenever that special pattern, whether it is the flag or its escape pattern escape, whenever something like that is coming, the receiver is going to attach one escape pattern additionally. So at the sender is going to attach at the receiver side, whenever this escape it is seeing for the first time, that first occurrence it will ignore, and the further one it will read as a actual message. Now again, so it is seeing that escape, the first occurrence it will remove, and the second occurrence it will treat as a normal message. So like that it will proceed. This escape itself can occur any number of times. That many times the same escape you will be attaching before every occurrence of this escape special pattern as well as a flag special pattern. So that is the case. For example, here this escape is occurring in the original message, and this is something you additionally stuffed, and that will be removed at the receiver side. And this flag, this is something you stuffed, and flag escape coming 2 times. So along with every occurrence you are adding one before that. At the receiver side, the first occurrence you will ignore, second one you will interpret as a normal data. Again the first occurrence of the next repetition of escape you will ignore, and the following whether it is escape or flag, that will be interpreted as a normal data. So hope you get an idea like how things are working. So that is the thing, but definitely the problem is like the size of the stuffed message is something proportional to size of the original message, right? So we are not getting some constant message size, in the sense it's not in your control. Like, so how many times the escape and the byte sequence, suppose in the original message all of them are just a repetition of the flag and the escape, before all each of this byte something extra you have to stuff. So almost if the original message is of size m bytes, then after stuffing it can have a size up to 2m byte, but it will not be more than that. So that is the limitation here. So instead of stuffing as one byte, what about stuffing a single bit? So that is something that we will be discussing in the next thing, next framing technique. So far 2 of the techniques were over. So now let's see the theoretical part. So we started with byte count, and we already observed their limitation. Now the second method, that is flag bytes, used as a special start and end delimiter with the byte stuffing when needed. So the second framing method gets around the problem of resynchronization after an error by having each frame start and end with a special flag. So the resynchronization problem But if it is a case of the byte count technique, resynchronization is very difficult, or it is almost impossible. But here it is very easy. Simply, if you feel like you gone out of synchronization, you can just search for the flag pattern repeated 2 times in the original message. So often the same byte called the flag byte is used as starting and the end delimiter, but if you want, you can use different patterns even. So the problem is with the end delimiter, not with the start delimiter. The end delimiter, if it is coming in the original pattern, means if you are using start and end delimiter to be different, then the escape sequence, everything you have to add only for the end delimiter pattern. So whenever the end delimiter pattern is coming, we are going to stop our reading of the current frame at that point. That is the problem we are encountering, and there is no issue with start frame delimiter. If both are same, then whenever that same pattern is coming, you have to escape it. So two consecutive flag bytes, delimiter pattern, indicate the end of the frame and start of the next frame. So thus, if the receiver ever loses its synchronization, it can just search for two consecutive flag bytes to find the end of the current frame and start of the new frame. Maybe some delay in between, but still a flag followed by another flag. So that will resynchronize the communication. However, there is still a problem we have to solve. It may happen that the flag byte occurs in the original data, like what we seen in the example. So one way to solve this problem is to have the sender's data link layer use a special escape byte, some special byte being stuffed, that is, we call it as a escape byte, just before the accidental flag byte in the original data. So thus the framing flag byte can be distinguished from one in the data by the absence or presence of an escape sequence. So the actual end delimiter their escape sequence will not be stuffed, but if it is accidentally occurring in the original message, definitely that escape sequence will be. So that is how the receiver can distinguish between these two. The data link layer on the receiver side removes the something that we stuffed, that is escape bytes, before giving to the network layer. So that removing, so that incurs some extra time definitely at the sender as well as at the receiver. So this technique is called byte stuffing, because you are stuffing on additional byte in the original message. So of course the next question is, what happens if the escape byte itself occurring in the middle of the data? So the answer is that to the same way you have to proceed, like is stuffed with an escape byte. So that means the escape byte, if it is occurring in the original message, that itself can be stuffed further with another escape byte. At the receiver, the first escape byte is removed because it is indicating that what is following it is actual data, and leaving the data byte that follows it. Whether it is flag or escape itself, it will be interpreted as part of the original message only, not as a delimiter pattern. So which might be another escape byte or a flag byte. Yeah. We can still search for a frame boundary by looking at in that, if you feel at some point like you've gone out of synchronization, then you can be back to synchronization by looking for two consecutive bytes, then that you can do at any time without bothering to undo the escape. So the byte stuffing scheme is used in a data link layer protocol called the point-to-point protocol. So the in point-to-point protocol, so that is practically implemented data link layer protocol, you can see that the method used is this byte stuffing. Of course it may be somewhat so this is something fine in the sense chances of occurring this escape and byte in the original message may be less, or whatever it is. Anyway, this P2P is something that implemented this technique. Okay, with this we will wind up this discussion. Now in the next video lecture we will see the third category and the fourth category. Out of them, the third one you have to give more attention, that is bit stuffing. So instead of stuffing a single byte as escape sequence, why not we stuff a single bit and break the pattern? So that is the idea used in bit stuffing, and that we will see in the next video. So for any doubt you can ask me in the live